Hello, fellow bibliophiles, and welcome back to Blatantly Bookish. I'm Marissa, and today, in honor of Victober, I have a very Victorian book haul for you. So at the end of September, I was watching everyone's TBRs for Victober and was so excited about Victorian literature that I went ahead and treated myself to an online purchase of some used Victorian books. I am so excited to share them all with you today. Like I said, they were all purchased online, with the exception of one which was very kindly gifted to me. And they are all Victorian novels, with the exception of one, which is about the Victorian era, but not written in the Victorian era. It's a nonfiction book, and I'll talk about that probably at the end. Typically, I prefer to buy my books at local used library sales or bookshops in the bargain section. I really enjoy digging through all the books and just finding something completely unexpected and finding a bargain. But unfortunately, most of the places I frequent do not have a good selection of Victorian literature. You could find the occasional Dickens, probably the millionth copy of Oliver Twist or David Copperfield, and I've seen Wilkie Collins once or twice, but only The Woman in White. Certainly nothing else by him. So it's really hard to find Victorian literature where I usually go. So I thought it would be nice to have some of the Victorian literature that I'm really excited about and would really like to read on my shelves for the future. The first three books that I'd like to talk about are part of a series. They are the first three in Anthony Trollope's Palliser series. I've previously read pretty much all of the Barsetshire Chronicle series. I just have the last Chronicle of Barset to go, and I thought what might help me finally get around to that book would be to have the next series all lined up and ready to go so that there will be no lapse in my Anthony Trollope reading. The first book in the series is Can You Forgive Her by Anthony Trollope. I really love the cover of this book. I like how the two characters look estranged and upset and look like they have something to forgive in one another. And I don't really know much about the plot of this book or really any of these Victorian books. I like to go into Victorian books not knowing too much and not reading the backs because a lot of times that will mean you know too much. The second book in the series is Phineas Finn, which I know a tad bit more about. I believe this one is about Phineas Finn, who is an Irish member of the British House of Commons, and it's about his life and navigating his political aspirations with his private life, and I believe it takes place during the Reform Bill of 1867, so that plays a role in the book as well. I'm really excited to read about an Irish character in the British government because I know that the Irish faced quite a bit of discrimination during the time period, and I'm interested in seeing how that plays out and how Anthony Trollope addresses that. The third book in the series is The Eustace Diamonds. This book, I've been told, is part detective fiction and the least political of the Palliser series novels. So I'm pretty excited about this one. I've heard it compared to The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins, which I absolutely adore. And I do think I might have had the ending of this possibly spoiled for me by one of Lucy Worsley's wonderful books, but I'm just trying to forget about it, or potentially it was actually The Moonstone that was spoiled. The fact that I can't remember is a good sign, and hopefully I enjoyed this book nonetheless. Speaking of Wilkie Collins, I picked up Armadale. I am really excited for this book. I've heard that it is a mid-Victorian sensation novel full of fast-paced fun, espionage, attempted suicide, and bigamy. Lots of really exciting things, and I'm just excited to pick up another Wilkie Collins book. I absolutely loved The Moonstone and The Woman in White, and Armadale seems like a good next place to go. Next, I have East Lynne by Ellen Wood. I've heard some really great things about this book, and as far as I know, it deals with Victorian morality and focuses on a character who is a fallen woman. So I'm really excited to see how that theme is handled in this book. Hopefully it's not too depressing, but like I said, I've heard great things, so we'll see. The next book I have is possibly two books actually, The Semi-Attached Couple and The Semi-Detached House by Emily Eden. This book was kindly gifted to me by Kate Howe, so thank you so much, Kate. I'm excited to get around to this one day and give it a permanent home on my shelves. Emily Eden is an author that is a rather obscure Victorian author, but one who I've become interested in simply because she's been compared a lot to Jane Austen, who I of course love. Everyone says that her writing style and wit is very similar to Jane Austen's, as well as the themes that she addresses: love, marriage, money, and class, of course. The next book I have is Deerbrook by Harriet Martineau. I've heard really wonderful things about this book. All I know about its plot is that it focuses on two cousins who come to a quaint little country town of Deerbrook and become involved in all of the affairs there. I'm so excited to have this one on my shelves in the hopes that I read it even sooner. The last book I have is actually a nonfiction book about the Victorian era, and that is Parallel Lives by Phyllis Rose. This focuses on 5 Victorian marriages and just discusses them and those relationships in depth. It actually features 5 famous writers' marriages. So it discusses John Ruskin, Thomas Carlyle, John Stuart Mill, Charles Dickens, and George Eliot, aka Marianne Evans. Apparently, 3 of these unions were devoid of passion, 1 degenerated into widely publicized scandal, and the sole happy one was the most shocking of all. I'm really excited to read this book, hopefully for Nonfiction November. So those are all the books that I have for you guys today. I find that Victorian books are some of my favorites to collect and keep on my shelves. A lot of times I'll read a Victorian book for the first time on my e-reader or as an audiobook, and I just love it so much that I want a physical copy to revisit again and again. So I'm really excited to have these right off the bat. I definitely won't be reading these books this Victober, but hopefully throughout the coming year or two, or certainly for next Victober, I'll be able to pick some of these up. I would love to know in the comments down below, have you read any of these books? What did you think of them? Are you excited to read any of these books soon? Maybe we could even do a buddy read in the future, who knows? Until next time, I look forward to seeing you guys in another video very soon. Bye!